there are people that say, well, the prime minister of Israel dragged Donald Trump into it. And as somebody that's been friends with him over 30 years, nobody drags Donald Trump into anything, number one. But I want to get your reaction to that.
Well, you're right. I mean, that's ridiculous. Donald Trump is the strongest leader in the world. He does what he thinks is right for America. He does also what he thinks is right for future generations. And frankly, we're partners in that effort.
That evil cackle in the middle was haunting. So we actually made a clip out of it. We might go to this more and more, but this is Netanyahu's reaction to all of us. Yeah, and guys, what that was him thinking like, oh yeah, Donald Trump can't be pushed into anything unless you have what I have. One is 94% of Congress, two is $337 million the Adelsons gave Donald Trump, and three is the thing that you guys don't know. Oh yeah, he can't be pushed into war. What are you talking about? We getting pushed into war for decade after decade. In fact, Netanyahu brags about how he's been trying to push us into this war the entire time. Watch.
Is this now the culmination of decades of your work and your belief and your passion that these radicals needed to be defeated?
Well, you're right. I did have spoken about it for decades, and I try to persuade successive American administrations to take firm action. And President Trump, in his first term, did. He got out of the disastrous Iran deal right off the bat, and he did everything he could to prevent them from going into the nuclear program that they seek to build atomic bombs to threaten us and you, and ultimately to attack both of us.
Yeah, Iran was never going to attack us. The only reason why we're in this war with them is obviously because Netanyahu's been pushing for it all along. And in fact, rather than Trump being incredibly strong, and he can't be pushed into anything, they're all saying, right? No, I think he's actually the easiest president to push into a war. He's like, I'm anti-war and America first. Like, here's money and blackmail. Oh, right away, I'm Israel first and pro-war. So I don't know what they're talking about. But Trump, of course, got touchy about it. So he's like, oh, they didn't boss me. He says this instead.
Mr. President, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did that pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But Israel was ready and we were ready.
Okay, two comical things about that. First, Israel didn't want this war. We had to force them into it. I don't think I have to make a case about that. And then let's go to Reuters to see if was Iran about to attack? Were they about to attack? Trump administration officials acknowledged in closed-door briefings with congressional staff on Sunday that there was no intelligence suggesting Iran planned to attack US forces first. Two people familiar with the matter said. So entirely made up by Donald Trump. Now you guys have seen Marco Rubio say Israel was going to attack and we had to do it so that we didn't lose more American soldiers. We had to join them. It looked like we were getting pushed into it. So I'm going to play you clip 6 here. This is the Undersecretary of Defense, Elbridge Colby. He's being questioned by Elizabeth Warren in the Senate. Let's see what he says.
This is certainly not nation building. This is not going to be endless, as the president.
So this is not, in your mind, interventionism?
I don't think this is. No, I don't think that's what that nation building, endless wars. That's definitely not.
That's actually the very first word in the Department of Defense.
Interventionism is a more, I would say, kind of responsibility to protect or something. I mean, it's obviously not.
Really, and we didn't do this in order to try to protect Israel.
I think that well, that's one of the goals. It's obviously we're serving our own interests.
Interventionism.
So, Glenn. As I said in the beginning of this show, it feels like you change your reasons for the war. A regime change. I meant the nukes. I meant the ballistic missiles. I meant we have to destroy their whole navy. I meant roadside bombs. When you're trying to hide the real reason you're doing it, because like when I want to get money out of politics, I have a very clear reason for why I want to do that. I don't need to obfuscate around it. I don't have to lie about it. I can just tell you exactly why I'm doing it, right? So, I mean, to what degree is it obvious that Israel is pushing us into this war?
We just listened to video, and there's so many other examples where Netanyahu just flat out says, Sean Hannity said it too, this has been your supreme dream for 40 years. It has been the #1 wish on the wish list of Israel, Netanyahu, the Israel lobby, Israel firsters in the United States, to lure the United States into a regime change war against Iran to remove the government that is Israel's most formidable adversary. Having heard all that, Trump is then going to turn around and say, oh, I actually pushed them into doing it. They didn't want to, I'm the one who decided. On top of which, we just heard Marco Rubio and Tom Cotton and all the other people say the exact opposite. The reason we had to was because Israel was going to, whether we were going to or not, and we were afraid we would get attacked, so we were forced by Israel to do so. Trump just says whatever he wants. I mean, the amount of lying that was there was amazing. Just really quickly though, on that one Defense Department official you showed, Elbridge Colby, he actually, he almost didn't get confirmed because the Israel lobby was opposed to him. He is one of these guys who believes we have to stop our interventions in the Middle East. He's a very realist sort of figure, which is why the Israel lobby didn't want him. I'm sure there's pushback in the Defense Department saying we can't fight this war. We don't have the readiness for it. We don't have the weapons for it. The problem is that once you start a war like this, you can't just end it whenever you want, because the outcome has to be such that you can end it in a way that lets you say that you've won. And the more Iran attacks things like our embassies in Saudi Arabia or Dubai, as they're doing, or bombing Israel or killing American soldiers, the more Trump is going to feel compelled to get further and further into this war, and that is the real danger. Did Israel force Trump, or does Trump just like the idea of being a war president? Hard to say. They did pretend to be at loggerheads last year too, like Trump was supposedly trying to negotiate and Netanyahu wanted to go to war, and it turned out to be a ruse to just lure Iran into lowering their defense systems. It could be that Trump wanted as much as Netanyahu, but one thing I know for sure is that the Israelis and Netanyahu didn't just want this now, they wanted it for decades. And whatever else is true, Trump's claim that he told the Israelis to do it against their wishes is one of the most transparent lies you could possibly tell.
Now, before on the Anatoly, we've shown you clips of Netanyahu arguing to go to war with Iran for the last, actually longer than 20 years, about 30 years at a minimum, right? But Glenn mentioned earlier in the show that they promised us that Iraq would be easy too, and now you got all these guys going, yeah, maybe it's for Israel, maybe it's not, but it's going to be easy, 4 or 5 weeks and we're done. I remember another guy telling me about that, or telling all of us about that, back during the lead up to the Iraq war. Let's see who that was. Oh, sorry.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region.
Did it, Glenn?
Well, if you think ISIS is a positive reverberation on the region, which by the way, Israel might, ISIS has never really shown a propensity to attack Israel, interestingly, then I guess you could say so. I don't think anyone else really thinks that. He also went on to say, you're gonna have democracy flourish in the region, taking out Saddam is the key to everything. He's the terrorist regime. Again, Cenk, it's the exact same script they're using now for Iran.
The US military should no longer even pretend to oppose committing war crimes. And he has ordered US troops to ignore rules of engagement, to ignore international law, and given them a total green light to carry out as many war crimes as they want. I'm not exaggerating. The US Department of War is quite literally pro-war crimes. Listen to this clip of the speech that Hegseth gave in the US when he ordered military leaders from all over the world to come back to the US to listen to this mandatory speech. And he told US military commanders to ignore the rules of engagement, ignore international law, and commit as many war crimes as you want in order to maximize the power and dominance of the US empire.
Every day we have to be prepared for war, not for defense. We're training warriors, not defenders. We fight wars to win, not to defend. Defense is something you do all the time. It's inherently reactionary and can lead to overuse, overreach, and mission creep. War is something you do sparingly, on our own terms and with clear aims. We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters. You kill people and break things for a living.
And that was not just empty rhetoric. This is exactly what the U.S. military is doing against Iran. A great example of this is how the U.S. military bombed an Iranian ship for no reason in the Indian Ocean, thousands of kilometers away from Iran. This was not involved in hostilities. In fact, this Iranian ship had gone to India in order to participate in naval exercises hosted by India, and it was heading out into international waters. And the U.S. military used a submarine to torpedo the ship, to sink it, killing 87 Iranian soldiers who were not fighting. This is an extreme war crime. They were not actually engaged in hostilities. This is just the U.S. empire showing the rest of the world that it is cruel. The cruelty is the point. It's trying to be as sadistic and barbaric as possible. That's the point. The U.S. empire wants the entire world to fear it and to see it rightfully as this crazy rogue regime run by madmen who are totally bloodthirsty, who do not care one bit about human life, and are more than willing to bomb school children in Iran, bomb girls' elementary schools to show the rest of the world how literally evil they are. And this brings us to an important question, which is, what exactly is the U.S. empire trying to accomplish in this war against Iran? Because the U.S. and Israel started this illegal war of aggression by violating peace talks and launching the surprise attack on Iran, in which they carried out decapitation strikes, as they put it, to assassinate all of the political and military leaders of Iran. And their goal was to try to bring about state collapse. This is why, for instance, they killed the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, who, by the way, was not hiding. He didn't flee. He was in his office. He was 86 years old. He was in bad health. He wanted to become a martyr. He knew that the U.S. and Israel were going to kill him. That's why he didn't even try to flee. And also because he knew that the Iranian government would not collapse with his death. This is what the U.S. and Israel don't understand. They have believed their own propaganda. They think that Iran is a so-called dictatorship, but it's obviously not a dictatorship, because for years, not just in this war, but in the past, the U.S. and Israel have assassinated many Iranian leaders. In 2020, Trump killed the top Iranian general, Qasem Soleimani, who is probably the second most powerful person in the Iranian government after the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. And Israel has assassinated so many Iranian political leaders and military leaders and scientists. The U.S. and Israel have been carrying out an extreme campaign of terror against Iran for many years, trying to kill all of the leaders, and the Iranian government has not collapsed because it's not a dictatorship. It's not like Iraq, for instance. The U.S. invaded, they've removed Saddam Hussein, they later killed Saddam Hussein, and the government did collapse. But Iran is not like that. The Iranian government has actually shown that it's quite resilient, and a big reason for this is because Khamenei and other top Iranian leaders all designated a series of individuals who could fill their position. There are reports that for every top official in the Iranian government, there are 4 individuals who are designated under them in a line of succession for if and when the U.S. and Israel assassinate those officials, someone else can take their place. But regime change is obviously not happening. So this leads us to another conclusion, which is that the U.S. and Israel, they don't just want regime change. Of course, they would love to have regime change. They would love to put in a puppet like the fail son of the former Shah, the former U.S.-backed dictator, or some other puppet, but that's not realistic. So increasingly, what it looks like the US and Israel's goal is state collapse, which is even worse than regime change. They want a failed state. They want Iran to be destroyed as a society, so the country cannot be governed. This is what US-led NATO forces did in Libya in 2011 when they killed Libya's leader Muammar Gaddafi, and they totally collapsed the state. And for the past 15 years, Libya has been a completely decentralized, failed state, and there has not been a central government. There's been an ongoing civil war. There were even open-air slave markets in Libya. And this is what the US and Israel want to do to Iran. Total collapse. And this has surprisingly actually been admitted by some Israeli officials. There was an incredible report published in the Financial Times that says the quiet part loud, if you will, that admits that the US and Israel want state collapse and a failed state in Iran. This FT report was titled, "Israel Expects Weeks-Long War Against Iran." The FT cited Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, who said that every new leader appointed by the Iranian government will be eliminated by Israel. So this is a top Israeli official admitting their plan is quite literally to kill every Iranian government official to make it impossible for this country to be governed. And then in an even more revealing part, the FT interviewed a former top Israeli intelligence official named Danny Citrinovitz. And who exactly is Danny Citrinovitz? Well, he's currently working at the Atlantic Council, which is NATO's think tank in Washington. It's funded by Western governments and the military-industrial complex. But more importantly here, he served for 25 years in top positions in the Israel Defense Intelligence Agency, and he was the head of the Iran branch in the Research and Analysis Division in Israel's Defense Intelligence. He was also the agency's representative in the United States. And he admitted that Israel wants state collapse. He said that Israel's goal is, quote, the total destruction of this regime, of the pillars of this regime, of everything that holds it together, end quote. And then this is what he told the Financial Times, summarizing the position of the Israeli regime. Quote, if we can have a coup, great. If we can have people on the streets, great. If we can have a civil war, great. Israel could not care less about the future or the stability of Iran, end quote. This is the former head of Iran operations for Israel's defense intelligence saying that Israel wants to collapse the Iranian state, to have a civil war, to destabilize the country, and that quite literally, they do not care about the future of Iran and the 93 million people who live in Iran. These are the insane fascists who are running the US and Israeli regimes, who do not care one iota about human life. This is why they don't care at all about bombing school children. They want to collapse society.
Though honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders, great millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and wherever you may be, and wherever you may be, to you I say shalom, Yeshua, shalom. Right, I'm going to be brief here with this article, because pretty much everything that I wanted was already said in the video clips that I played. But this is one last thing here that I want to go through. Article that I saw earlier today. And so this is from Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. Subheaded, obviously talking about Iran. It says Trump calls on Iran forces to lay down arms, civilians to revolt. And I thought this was very interesting here, just giving a headline alone. Trump calls on Iran forces to lay down arms. Why would I do that if I'm pretty much, you know, on the winning end of things as of right now? Why would I lay down? It's like a million-man army is going to stop and lay down their swords and spears for a 10,000-man army. That wouldn't make sense, all right? if I'm not if I'm not losing, why would I lay down my arms to you? Okay, who's obviously the one who's confused and discombobulated. Then it says civilians to revolt, and that's really what caught my mind more than the first half there, because they want the civilians to, have a civil, pretty much a civil war, because there's always going to be people who are with their government, no matter what country it is, and then there are going to be people who are against things that their leader and their country is doing, their government is doing. So they want them to revolt, all right, to cause a mass uprising, because they can utilize that. How America does, they do the sleeper cell thing. I call the Jason Bournes, right? Because that's exactly what they are. All right, just living this normal life until they get the call, and then bam, all right, do the Jason Bourne thing. Okay, so America can utilize that, and it helps, to overthrow the Iranian government. So let's read some of this here. Washington. U.S. President Donald Trump called on members of Iran's military police and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, to lay down their arms, promising total immunity. You gotta laugh at it, man. Promising total immunity. And we already know that America is not trustworthy if they abandon the country's ruling clerical establishment. As he made his remarks, fears continued to rise that the U.S. and Israeli war on Iran was spreading throughout the Middle East, not only affecting Washington's Arab allies, but also non-Gulf nations such as Azerbaijan, Turkey, Cyprus, and even Sri Lanka, some 3,900 kilometers away. And I believe there was something mentioning Azerbaijan. I can't remember if it was in the news that I posted earlier, or I know I remember. Because, you go through so many things. I know I remember something about Turkey and Azerbaijan. Let's see here. But anyways, says Trump, speaking at the White House on March 5th, urged security forces to side with the Iranian public and help bring down the government that has ruled the country since the 1989 Iranian Revolution. Hold on, bear with me. That's like it. So continuing on, it says I'm once again calling on all members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the military, and the police to lay down their arms, Trump said. Now is the time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country. This guy's funny, man. He's freaking hilarious. So he's now, according to this article anyways, they're trying to reach out to the Iranian people to get some kind of a foothold in this war, all right, to get some kind of upper hand, because they need whatever help that they can get. Yeah, and actually, this may be what we played earlier. Is this? I'm not sure. It says he emphasized those who surrender would receive protection, will give you immunity, Trump said, adding that those who defect would be on. Oh, see, there's a big word right there, defect. All right, it's not just you laying your weapons down. You're defecting. You basically, this is saying that I want you to turn on your country, your leaders, or whatever the case may be, all that, and come inside with us, and we'll give you immunity. Okay, come give us all the intel that you have, and then they're probably going to be treated like some low-rate person. All right. So adding that those who defect would be on the right side of history. So the right side of history is the white side of history. Okay, the Edomite side, the American side. Okay, and this is how these people think, and that's why I've titled it what I titled it: the least of the flock and the whore. Let me play this.
It's been a slightly quieter day here in Tel Aviv after what was described by one resident as the most sleepless night the city has had since this war started. Still, there have been sirens and people expect more tonight. The alarms have sounded 3 times since breakfast time, sending people into shelters and underground car parks. In one location, we were joined by a group of Orthodox Jewish students who immediately began to pray. Well, the Israeli military...
Hold on. He said, with God's help, the whole world will be fine. You right. The Lord's going to jack up the earth, man. Okay? And especially you people who are in his land. Actually, I think that's in Joel 3. All right? It talks about, departed his land. Okay? You're one of the main peoples who are in, the area that, lands that belong to the Lord that he gave to the children of Israel. Okay? The enemy has said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. Okay?
Military announced that it had conducted additional waves of attacks in both Iran and in Lebanon against Iranian proxy forces. In Tehran, it said airstrikes had hit targets linked to the Revolutionary Guard, along with military command and weapons sites. So far, this campaign appears to have pretty solid support across Israel. Earlier, I spoke to a senior opposition figure, Avigdor Lieberman, who has held ministerial roles including defence and foreign affairs. I asked him how he thought the war was going.
Very well, but still, what is important, the final result. And the final result, our expectation is to topple this regime. It's crazy, fanatic regime. We see the atrocities every day. We saw atrocities during the protests. And I think it's really biggest challenge for the free world.
Lieberman did not offer any vision for what happens if the Islamic Republic does collapse in Iran, and he did acknowledge that there was the possibility for turmoil and chaos there. The Israeli government has also not laid out how exactly it foresees regime change playing out, but officials here do suggest that, in any case, it's not going to happen overnight, meaning this unpredictable conflict will likely continue for some weeks yet.
And you see how those buildings look, the streets look? That's going to be Babylon soon, all right? That's coming to a Babylon near you. So going on with the article, it says you'll be perfectly safe with total immunity, or you'll face absolutely guaranteed death, and I don't want you to see that. So he's saying that if you don't turn coat and come with us and get this total absolute immunity, then you're guaranteed to die, if you stay with your country, because we're going to destroy you, but it just goes right along with the previous clips that we've already played. Trump also appealed to Iranian diplomats stationed abroad to seek asylum and assist in shaping Iran's future. We urge Iranian diplomats around the world to request asylum and help us shape a new and better Iran with great potential, he said. Later, in an interview with NBC News, Trump said he wasn't currently considering the use of U.S. troops on the ground in Iran. It's a waste of time. They've lost everything. They've lost their navy. They've lost everything they can lose. And that's a straight lie, because we're looking at the news. We're looking at the news and these people are still striking, okay? He told NBC, and how they lost their navy. They haven't done anything yet. Okay, well, going back to before, earlier clips that we played. All right, like the vessel that was just coming back from India in international waters, and America blew that up for no reason but cruelty, because these people are the devils. Okay, now we're not advocating for Iran or any other country or the nationality of people, but the devil is the devil. That's the thing. All right. It says, adding that Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi earlier remarked that Iran was ready for a U.S. or Israeli ground invasion was a wasted comment. Alright, so claim of heavy military losses. The U.S. president claimed the Iranian military capabilities have been severely degraded during recent fighting. In 3 days, their anti-aircraft weapons are gone. They have no air force. They have no air defense, Trump said. All of their airplanes are gone. Their communications are gone. He also said roughly 60% of Iran's missiles and 64% of its launchers have been destroyed, and that the country's navy had lost 24 ships. Their navy is gone, he said. He accused Tehran of previously aiming missiles at several Gulf countries, including Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. And this is coming from the guy who says that he an umpteen amount of wars. No one stopped this many wars. I've stopped this war, that war, da 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 da. He said that about the Russia-Ukraine war. He ain't stopped that yet. They were going after the entire Middle East, Trump said. And then we came along. Wait. It says he accused Tehran of previously aiming missiles at several Gulf countries, including Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. No, they were aiming at your bases and things of that nature inside of these countries. They were going after the entire Middle East. Yeah, they were looking for you. Then we came along. We blew up their party. See, this guy's hilarious, man. They say in the next ruler. So hours earlier, Trump had said Washington will help choose the next leader of Iran after the country's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, had been killed in the initial stages of the joint U.S.-Israeli airstrikes on February 28th. Yeah, the Operation Wh0re and Operation Epic Fury. Epic Fury was the American campaign, and Wh0re was the SOI's campaign, and they launched them together. So Trump, speaking to Reuters, ruled out Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the late supreme leader, a hardliner who's been considered a favorite to succeed his father, calling him a lightweight. So he's talking as if he has some kind of say-so here. All right, so he's talking boldly about Iran as if America has won the war and already, and you know, like they're basically like they're in control, to say the least. See, there's the article right there. Trump says U.S. to play a role in choosing Iran's next leader as the conflict widens. So he's just babbling. Okay, just a babbler. See, look, we want to be involved in the process of choosing the person who is going to lead Iran into the future. He was quoted by the agency. Yes, going into what we read up above. He wants the people to revolt, all right, and help. Because that will help them in that cause, and having a say-so and overthrowing the leader and putting up a puppet leader. All right, we don't have to go back every 5 years and do this again and again. Somebody that's going to be great for the people, great for the country. Khamenei's son is unacceptable to me. We want someone that will bring harmony and peace to Iran. Yeah, because why would he just let it go down in history that you killed his father? He's going to want some get back. So that's with peace and harmony for you anyways. Exeth, aka Phonies. Fight just begun. Meanwhile, U.S. Defense Chief Pete Hegseth warned Tehran it was making a mistake if it thought the United States could not sustain the ongoing war, adding that U.S. forces had just begun to fight. I think I saw that clip. Iran is hoping that we cannot sustain this, which is a really bad miscalculation, Hegseth told reporters at the U.S. Central Command headquarters in Tampa, Florida. The Pentagon on March 5th said the U.S. military has sunk more than 30 Iranian ships so far, and that ballistic missile attacks by Iran have decreased by 90% since the first day of the war, with some 60% of launchers destroyed. I don't know how true that is. Israel launches next phase, Iran retaliates. So there's more, the goings on and the aftermath and so on and so forth. Oh, here's that down below. Sites in non-Gulf nations Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Iraq have also been targeted by Iranian drones during the first 6 days of fighting. A U.S. submarine sank an Iranian warship off the waters of Sri Lanka on March 4th, killing at least 87 sailors. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, it jumped on me. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that article there. Yeah, we saw that earlier. U.S. officials confirmed Russia providing targeting intelligence to Iran in Middle East war. Alright, so what's that? I'll play a little money and gold bars. So you pretty much, get the gist of that little article there. We actually had a video that was in there too. So yeah, so Trump calls on Iran forces to lay down arms. Why would they do that? I have no idea why they think that. then says civilians to revolt. So they're calling for a revolt amongst Iranian citizens, and I highly doubt that they're going to hearken to that. Okay, but this is an attempt from America to actually try to gain some kind of upper hand here, because they want that regime change. No matter how much they say that it's not about regime change, at the same time they still say that it's about regime change, because it is, because they want a puppet leader so that they can take over. And remind you that the SOI has their Greater Israel project. Okay, so all those surrounding areas, and Iran is the one who is not bound down to what they got going on. All right, so that's pretty much in that article there. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
It's not just about regime change. It's about much more than regime change. It is total state collapse to destroy Iran as a country, as a society. Exactly what the U.S. and Israel did in Gaza. They're now repeating that in Iran and Lebanon, and they have plans on doing it in other parts of the global south. This is the true face of Western imperialism. What they're doing to Iran is what they did to Gaza, and if they're not stopped by the world, if the world does not unite against them, they want to repeat this in other countries, in Cuba, in Venezuela, and who knows where else. I hate to end on a very sad, pessimistic note, but I'm being realistic here. This is what we're dealing with, and we should not mince words. We should not sugarcoat what the U.S. and Israel are doing right now. This is a fascist war of extermination.